Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 24, verse number 231. We will continue our reading from Mukam Karoti Vachalam. Pangum Langhayate Girim Yad Kripa Tamham Vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. वन पथे देखे मृग आछे भूमे पड़ी बाण विधा भगन पाद करे धड़फड़ी. Narad Muni saw that a deer was lying on the path through the forest and that it was pierced by an arrow. It had broken legs and was twisting due to much pain. Verse 232. Har kata dure eke dekhe na shukar taiche vidha bhagan pad kare dhad fada. Farther ahead, Narad Muni saw a boar pierced by an arrow. Its legs were also broken and it was twisting in pain. Verse 233. Aiche eka shashak dekhe ar keta dure Jiver dukha dekhi Narad vyakul antare. When he went further, he saw a rabbit that was also suffering. Narad Muni was greatly pained at heart to see living entities suffer so. Verse 234. Keta dure dekhe vyad vrikshe onta hena mrig maribare ache. When Narad Muni advanced farther, he saw a hunter behind a tree. This hunter was holding arrows and he was ready to kill more animals. Verse 235. Sham Varan Rakt Netra Maha Bhayankara Dhanur Ban Haste Yena Yama Dand Dhara. The hunter's body was blackish, he had reddish eyes and he appeared fierce. It was as if the superintendent of death, Yamraj, was standing there with bow and arrows in his hands. Verse 236. Patachadi Narad Tar Nikate Chalila Narade Dekhi Mrig Sab Palan Gela. When Narad Muni left the forest path and went to the hunter, all the animals immediately saw him and fled. Verse 237. Kruddha hena vyad tanre gali dite chaye Narad prabhave mukhe gali nahi aaye. When all the animals fled, the hunter wanted to chastise Narad with abusive language, but due to Narad's appearance, he could not utter anything abusive. Verse 238. Kosani Prayan Patha Chadi Kene Aila Toma Dekhi Mor Lakshya Mriga Palaila. The hunter addressed Narad Muni, O Goswami, O great saintly person, why have you left the general path through the forest to come to me? Simply by seeing you, all the animals I was hunting have now fled. Verse 239. Narad kahe Patabuli Aaye Laan Puchite Mane ek samshay haya taha khandaite. Narad Muni replied, leaving the path, I have come to you to settle a doubt that is in my mind. Verse 240. Pathe ye shukar mriga jani tomar haya vyad kahe ye kaha se ta nishchaya. I was wondering whether all the boars and other animals that are half killed belong to you. Purport, the hunter replied, yes, what you are saying is so. Verse 241. Narad kahe yati jive mar tumi ban Ātmārāma kar kene na lao paran. Narad Muni then inquired, why did you not kill the animals completely? Why did you half kill them by piercing their bodies with arrows? Verse 242. Vyad kahe, Shuna Gosani Mrigari Mora Naam, Pitar Shikshate Ami Kari Aiche Kam. The hunter replied, My dear saintly person, my name is Mrigari, enemy of animals. My father taught me to kill them in that way. Verse 243. Ātmārāma Jiva Yadi Dhadfad Kare Tabe Na Anand Mora Bade Antare. When I see half-killed animals suffer, I feel great pleasure. Verse 244. Narad kahe ek vastu magi tomar sthane, Vyad kahe mrigadi leh ye tomar mane. Narad Muni then told the hunter, I have one thing to beg of you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The hunter replied, You may take whatever animals or anything else you would like. Verse 245. Mrig chal chah yadi aisa mor ghare ye chah taha diba mrig vyagram bare. I have many skins. If you would like them, I shall give you either a deer skin or a tiger skin. Verse 246. Narad kahe, Iha ami kichu nahi chahi, ar ek dan ami magi tuma thani. Narad Muni said, I do not want any of those skins. I am asking only one thing from you in charity. Verse 247. Kali haite tumi ye mrigadi mariba, prathame mariba ardhamara mara na kariba. I beg you that from this day on you will kill animals completely and not leave them half dead. Verse 248. Vyad kahe Kiba dan magila amare ardhamarile kiba haya taha kahe more. The hunter replied, My dear sir, what are you asking of me? What is wrong with the animals lying there half killed? Will you please explain this to me? Verse 249. Narad kahe ardhamarile jiva paye vyatha jive dukha ditecha tomar haibe aiche avastha. Narad Muni replied, If you leave the animals half dead, you are purposefully giving them pain, therefore you will have to suffer in retaliation. Purport: This is an authoritative statement given by the greatest authority, Narad Muni. If one gives another living entity unnecessary pain, one will certainly be punished by the laws of nature with a similar pain. Although the hunter Mrigari was uncivilized, he still had to suffer the results of his sinful activities. However, if a civilized man kills animals regularly in a slaughterhouse to maintain his so-called civilization, using scientific methods and machines to kill animals, one cannot even estimate the suffering awaiting him. So-called civilized people consider themselves very advanced in education, but they do not know about the stringent laws of nature. According to nature's law, it is a life for life. We can hardly imagine the sufferings of one who maintains a slaughterhouse. He endures suffering not only in this life, but in his next life also. It is said that a hunter, murderer, or killer is advised not to live and not to die. If he lives, he accumulates even more sins, which brings about more suffering in a future life. He is advised not to die because his dying means that he immediately begins to endure more suffering. Therefore, he is advised not to live and not to die. As followers of the Vedic principles, we accept the statements of Narad Muni in this regard. It is our duty to see that no one suffers due to sinful activities. Foolish rascals are described in Bhagavad-Gita as Mayaya Parita Jnanaha, which indicates that although they are superficially educated, Maya has taken their real knowledge away. Such people are presently leading human society. In Srimad Bhagavatam, they are described as Andha Yathandhair upaniyamanaha. These rascals are themselves blind, and yet they are leading others who are blind. When people follow such leaders, they suffer unlimited pains in the future despite so-called advancement. All this is happening. Who is safe? Who is happy? Who is without anxiety? Verse 250, Vyad tumi jeev mar alp aparadh tomar kadarthana diya mar e paap apar. Narad Muni continued, my dear hunter, your business is killing animals. That is a slight offense on your part, but when you consciously give them unnecessary pain by leaving them half dead, you incur very great sins. Purport: this is another good instruction to animal killers. There are always animal killers and animal eaters in human society because less civilized people are accustomed to eating meat. In the Vedic civilization, meat eaters are advised to kill an animal for the goddess Kali or a similar demigod. This is in order not to give the animal unnecessary pain as slaughterers' houses do. In the Balidan sacrifice to a demigod, it is recommended to cut the throat of an animal with one slice. This should be done on a dark moon night, and the painful noises expressed by the animal at the time of being slaughtered are not to be heard by anyone. There are also many other restrictions. Slaughter is allowed only once a month, and the killer of the animal has to suffer similar pains in his next life. At the present moment, so-called civilized men do not sacrifice animals to a deity in a religious or ritualistic way. They openly kill animals daily by the thousands for no purpose other than the satisfaction of the tongue. Because of this, the entire world is suffering in so many ways. Politicians are unnecessarily declaring war, and according to the stringent laws of material nature, massacres are taking place between nations. Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the fire influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the nature. This is from Bhagavad-Gita 3.27. The laws of Prakriti or nature are very stringent. No one should think that he has the freedom to kill animals and not suffer the consequences. One cannot be safe by doing this. Narad Muni herein says that animal killing is offensive, especially when animals are given unnecessary pain. Meat eaters and animal killers are advised not to purchase meat from the slaughterhouse. They can worship Kali once a month, kill some unimportant animal and eat it. Even by following this method, one still is an offender. Verse 251, Kadarthiya tumi yata marila jiver tara taiche tuma maribe janma janmantare. Narad Muni continued, all the animals that you have killed and given unnecessary pain will kill you one after the other in your next life and in life after life. Purport: this is an authoritative statement made by the great sage Narad. Those who kill animals and give them unnecessary pain, as people do in slaughterhouses, will be killed in a similar way in the next life and in many lives to come. One can never be excused from such an offense if one kills many thousands of animals in a professional way so that other people can purchase the meat to eat. One must be ready to be killed in a similar way in his next life and in life after life. There are many rascals who violate their own religious principles. According to Judeo-Christian scriptures, it is clearly said, thou shalt not kill. Nonetheless, giving all kinds of excuses, even the heads of religions indulge in killing animals while trying to pass as saintly persons. This mockery and hypocrisy in human society brings about unlimited calamities. Therefore, occasionally there are great wars. Masses of such people go out into battlefields and kill themselves. Presently, they have discovered the atomic bomb, which is simply waiting to be used for wholesale destruction. If people want to be saved from the killing business life after life, they must take to Krishna consciousness and cease sinful activity. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness recommends that everyone abandon meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication and gambling. When one gives up these sinful activities, he can understand Krishna and take to his Krishna consciousness movement. We therefore request everyone to abandon sinful activity and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In this way, people can save themselves from repeated birth and death and from being killed like animals in slaughterhouses. Verse 252, Narad Sange Vyadhera Mana Prasanna Haila Tandra Vakya Shuni Mane Bhaya Upajila. In this way, through the association of great sage Narad Muni, the hunter was a little convinced of his sinful activity. He therefore became somewhat afraid due to his offenses. Purport: this is the effect of associating with a pure devotee. Our preachers who are preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world should follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni and become purified by following the 4 principles and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This will make them fit to become Vaishnavas. Then, when they speak to sinful people about the teachings of this Krishna consciousness movement, people will be affected and take the instructions. We receive instructions in devotional service through the disciplic succession. Narad Muni is our original guru because he is the spiritual master of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is the spiritual master of our disciplic succession. Therefore, we should follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni and become pure Vaishnavas. A pure Vaishnava is one who has no ulterior motive. He has totally dedicated himself to the service of the Lord. He does not have material desires and he is not interested in so-called learning and philanthropic work. The so-called learned scholars and philanthropists are actually karmis and gyanis, and some are actually misers engaged in sinful activity. All are condemned because they are not devotees of Lord Krishna. Everyone has a chance to become purified by associating with this Krishna consciousness movement and strictly following the rules and regulations. By chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free from all contamination, especially contamination brought about by the killing of animals. Krishna says, himself requests, Sarv Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarv Papebhyo Mokshayishami Ma Shucha. Abandon all varieties of religions and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Bhagavad-Gita 18.66. We should take this instruction from Krishna and follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni in the disciplic succession. If we simply surrender unto Krishna's lotus feet and take this Krishna consciousness movement seriously, we can be freed from the karma incurred by sin. If we are intelligent enough, we shall engage in the loving service of the Lord. Then our lives will be successful and we shall not have to suffer like the hunter life after life. By killing animals, not only we will be bereft of the human form, but we will have to take an animal form and somehow or other be killed by the same type of animal we have killed. This is the law of nature. The Sanskrit word mamsa means meat. It is said, mam sah khadati iti mamsaha. That is, I am now eating the flesh of an animal who will someday in future be eating my flesh. Verse 253, Vyadha kahe balya haite e amar karma kemane tarimu muni pamra adhama. The hunter then admitted that he was convinced of his sinful activity, and he said, I have been taught this business from my very childhood. Now I am wondering how can I become freed from these unlimited volumes of sinful activity. Purport: this kind of admission is very beneficial as long as one does not again commit sin. Cheating and hypocrisy are not tolerated by higher authorities. If one understands that what sin is, he should give it up with sincerity and regret and surrender unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his agent, the pure devotee. In this way, one can be freed from the reactions of sin and make progress in devotional service. However, if one continues committing sins after making some atonement, he will not be saved. In the Shastras, such atonement is compared to an elephant bathing. An elephant takes a very good bath and cleanses its body very nicely. But as soon as it comes out of the water, it picks up some dust on the shore and throws it all over his body. Atonement may be carried out very nicely, but it will not help a person if he continues committing sins. Therefore, the hunter first admitted his sinful activity before the saintly person Narad and then asked how could he be saved. Verse 254, E paap yai mor keman upay nistar karah more padon tumar paye. The hunter continued, My dear sir, please tell me how I can be relieved from the reactions of my sinful life. Now I fully surrender unto you and fall down at your lotus feet. Please deliver me from sinful reactions. Purport, by the grace of Narad Muni, the hunter came to his good senses and immediately surrendered unto the saint's lotus feet. This is the process. By associating with the saintly person, one is able to understand the reactions of his sinful life. When one voluntarily surrenders to a saintly person who is representative of Krishna and the follows his instructions, one can become freed from sinful reactions. Krishna demands the surrender of a sinful man, and Krishna's representative gives the same instructions. The representative of Krishna never tells that his disciple, surrender unto me. Rather, he says, surrender unto Krishna. If the disciple accepts the principle and surrenders himself through the representatives of Krishna, his life is saved. Okay. Verse 255, Narad kahe yadi dhara amar vachana tabe se karite pari tumar mochana. Narad Muni assured the hunter, if you listen to my instructions, I shall find the way you can be liberated. Purport, Gaurangira Bhakta Gane Jane Jane Shakti Dhare. The purport of this song is that the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very merciful, and each and every one of them can deliver the whole world. What then to speak of Narad Muni? If one follows the instructions of Narad Muni, one can be delivered from any number of sinful reactions. This is the process one must follow. The instructions of a spiritual master, then one will certainly be delivered from all sinful reactions. This is the secret of success. Yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve tatha yatha bhakti tatha guru. If one has unflinching faith in Krishna and the spiritual master, the result is tasyaite katha by arthaha prakashante. All the conclusions of the revealed scriptures will be open to such a person. A pure devotee of Krishna can make the same demands that Narad Muni is making. He says, if you follow my instructions, I shall take responsibility for your liberation. A pure devotee like Narad can give assurance to any sinful man, because by the grace of the Lord, by the grace of devotee, Narad can give assurance to my sinful I shall take responsibility for your liberation. A pure devotee like Narad can give assurance to any sinful man, because by the grace of the Lord, such a devotee is empowered and deliver my sinful prayers if that person follows the principles set forth. Verse 256, Vyad kahe ye kaha sei ka kariba, Narad kahe dhenuka bhanga. Dhaunaka bhanga tabe se kaiba. The hunter then said, "My dear sir, whatever you say I shall do." Purport Narad immediately ordered him, "First of all, break your bow, then I shall tell you what is to be done." Purport Narad immediately ordered him, "First of all, break your bow, then I shall tell you what is to be done." This is the process of initiation. The disciple must vow that he will no longer commit sinful activity, namely illicit relationships, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. He vows that to execute the order of the spiritual master, then the spiritual master takes care of him and elevate him. So then the spiritual master takes care of him and elevates him to the spiritual emancipation. Then the spiritual master takes care of him and elevates him to spiritual emancipation. Verse 257. व्याध कहे धनुका भांगिले वर्तिबा के मने, नारद कहे अमी अन्ना दिबा prati dine. The hunter replied, "If I break my bow, how shall I maintain myself?" But Narad Muni replied, "Do not worry, I shall supply you all your daily food every day. The source of our income is not actually the source of our maintenance." This is from the purport. Every living being from the great Brahma down to a insignificant ant is being maintained by the Lord Personality of Godhead. Eka Bahunam Yavidhi Vidadhati Kamika Kaman. The one supreme beings, Krishna maintains everyone. Our so-called force of income is our own choice only. If we wish to be hunter, it will appear that hunting is my source of happiness. If I become a Brahman and completely depend on Krishna, I do not conduct a business. Where is it gone? But nonetheless, my maintenance is supplied by Krishna. The hunter was disturbed by breaking his bow because he was very so-called source of income is our own choice only. If I wish to be hunter, I will appear that hunting is the source of my maintenance. If I become Brahman and completely depend on Krishna, I do not conduct business, but nonetheless my maintenance is supplied by Krishna. The hunter was disturbed by breaking his bow because he was worried about his income. Narad Muni assured the hunter because he knew that the hunter but nonetheless the maintenance is supplied by Krishna. The hunter was disturbed by breaking his bow because he was worried about his income. Narad Muni assured the hunter because he knew that the hunter was not being maintained by the bow but by Krishna, being the agent of Krishna. Narad Muni knew very well that the hunter would not suffer by breaking the bow. This was no doubt the Krishna. The bow, there was no would supply him food. Verse number 258. Dhanuka bhangi vyadh tanra Charane Padila, Tare Utthana, Narad Upadesh Kaila. Being thus assured by the great sage Narad Muni, the hunter broke his bow, immediately fell down at the saint's lotus feet and fully surrendered. After this, Narad Muni raised him with his hand and gave him instructions for spiritual advancement. Purport: this is the process of initiation. The disciple must surrender to the spiritual master, the representative of Krishna, the spiritual master being a disciplic succession stemming from Narad Muni. Is in the same category with Narad Muni. A person can be relieved from his sinful activity if he surrenders to the lotus feet of a person who actually represents Narad Muni. Narad Muni gave instructions to the hunter after the hunter surrendered. Verse 259. Ghare giya brahmane deha yata ache dhana ek vastra pari bahir hao duijana. Narad Muni then advised the hunter, return home and distribute whatever riches you have to the pure Brahmanas who know the absolute truth. After you have distributed all your riches to the Brahmanas, you and your wife should leave home, each of you taking only one cloth to wear. Purport: this is the process of renunciation at the stage of Vanprastha. After enjoying householder life for some time, the husband and wife must leave the home and distribute the riches to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. One can keep his wife as an assistant in the Vanprastha stage. The idea is that the wife will assist the husband in spiritual advancement. Therefore, Narad Muni advised the hunter to adopt the Vanprastha stage and leave home. It is not that a Grastha should live at home until he dies. Vanprastha is a preliminary to sannyas. In the Krishna consciousness movement, there are many young couples engaged in Lord's service. Eventually, they are supposed to take Vanprastha, and after the Vanprastha stage, the husband may take sannyas in order to preach. The wife may then remain alone and serve the deity or engage in other activities within the Krishna consciousness movement. Verse 260. Nadi tire ek khani kutir kariya tar aage ek pindi tulasi ropiya. Narad Muni continued, leave your home and go to the river. There you should construct a small cottage, and in front of the cottage you should grow a tulsi plant on a raised platform. Verse 261. Tulasi parikrama kar tulasi sevana nirantar Krishna nama kariya kirtan. After planting the tulsi tree before your house, you should daily circumambulate that tulsi plant, serve her by giving her water and other things, and continuously chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Purport: this is the beginning of spiritual life. After living householder life, one may go to a holy place such as the bank of the Ganges or Yamuna and erect a small cottage. A small cottage can be constructed without any expenditure. 4 logs serving a pillar can be secured by any man from the forest. The roof can be covered with leaves and one can cleanse the inside. Thus one can live very peacefully. In any condition, any man can live in a small cottage. Plant a tulsi tree, water it in the morning, offer it prayers, and continuously chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thus one can make vigorous spiritual advancement. This is not at all difficult. One simply has to follow the instructions of the spiritual master strictly. Then everything will be successful in the due course of time. As far as eating is concerned, there is no problem. If Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, supplies everyone with eatables, why should he not supply his devotees? Sometimes a devotee will not even bother to construct a cottage. He will simply go to live in a mountain cave. One may live in a cave, in a cottage beside a tree, in a palace, or in a big city like New York or London. In any case, a devotee can follow the instructions of his spiritual master and engage in devotional service by watering the tulsi plant and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, taking the advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Prabhupada is saying here, one can go to any part of the world and instruct people to become devotees of the Lord by following the regulative principles, worshipping the tulsi plants, and continuously chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Verse 262. Ami tomai bahu anna pathaimu dine se anna labe yata khao dui jane. Narad Muni continued, every day I shall send sufficient food to you both. You can take as much food as you want. Purport. When a person takes to Krishna consciousness, there is no need to care for material necessities. Krishna says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I personally carry all necessities to my devotees. Why should one be anxious about the necessities of life? The principle should be that one should not want more than what is absolutely necessary. Narad Muni advises the hunter to accept only what is absolutely necessary for him and his wife. The devotee should always be alert to consume only those things that he absolutely requires and not create unnecessary needs. Verse 263. Tabe se mrigadi dine narad sustha kaila sustha hena mrigadi dine dana palaila. The three animals that were half killed were then brought to their consciousness by the sage Narad. Indeed, the animals got up and swiftly fled. Verse 264. Dekhiya vyadhera mane haila chamatkar ghare gela vyadh guru ke kari namaskar. When the hunter saw the half-killed animals flee, he was certainly struck with wonder. He then offered his respectful obeisances to the sage Narad and returned home. Verse 265. Yatha sthane Narad gela vyadh ghare aila naradera updeshe sakala karila. After all this, Narad Muni went to his destination after the hunter returned home. He exactly followed the instructions of his spiritual master Narad. Purport: for spiritual advancement, one must have a bona fide spiritual master and follow his instructions in order to be assured of advancement. Verse 266. Grame dhvani haila vyadh vaishnav haila gramer lok sab anna anite lagila. The news that the hunter had become a Vaishnav spread all over the village. Indeed, all the villagers brought alms and presented them to the Vaishnav who had formerly been a hunter. Purport: it is the duty of the public to present a gift to a saintly person, Vaishnav or Brahman, when going to see him. Every Vaishnav is dependent on Krishna, and Krishna is ready to supply all of life's necessities, provided the Vaishnav follows the principles set forth by the spiritual master. There are certainly many householders in our Krishna consciousness movement. They join the movement and live in the society's centers, but if they take advantage of this opportunity and do not work but live at the expense of the movement, eating prasadam and simply sleeping, they place themselves in a very dangerous position. It is therefore advised that grihasthas should not live in the temple. They must live outside the temple and maintain themselves. Of course, if the grihasthas are fully engaged in the Lord's service, according to the directions of the authorities, there is no harm in their living in a temple. In any case, a temple should not be a place to eat and sleep. A temple manager should be very careful about these things. Verse 267. Ek dina anna ane dasha bisha jane dine tat laya yata khaya dui jane. In one day, enough food was brought for 10 or 20 people, but the hunter and his wife would accept only as much as they could eat. Verse 268. Ek dine Narad kahe sunaha parvate amar ek shishya ache chalaha dekhite. One day, while speaking to his friend Parvat Muni, Narad Muni requested him to go with him to see his disciple, the hunter. Verse 269. Tabe dui rishi aila se vyadasthane dur haite vyadh paila gurura darshane. As the saintly sages approached the hunter's place, the hunter could see them from a distance. Verse 270. Aste vyaste dhana ase patha nahi paye pathera pipilika iti uti dhare paye. With great alacrity, the hunter began to run toward his spiritual master, but he could not fall down and offer obeisances because ants were running hither and thither around his feet. Verse 271. Dandavat sthane pipilikare dekhiya vastre sthana jhadi pade dandavat hena. After seeing the ants, the hunter whisked them away with a piece of cloth. After thus clearing the ants from the ground, he fell down flat to offer his obeisances. Purport: the word danda means rod and vat means like. To offer obeisances to the spiritual master, one must fall flat, exactly as a rod falls onto the ground. This is the meaning of the word dandavat. Verse 272. Narad kahe vyadh e na haya ascharya hari bhaktiye himsa shunaya haya sadhu varya. Narad Muni said, my dear hunter, such behavior is not at all astonishing. A man in devotional service is automatically non-violent. He is the best of gentlemen. Purport: in this verse, the word sadhu varya means the best of gentlemen. At the present moment, there are many so-called gentlemen who are expert in killing animals and birds. Nonetheless, these so-called gentlemen profess a type of religion that strictly prohibits killing. According to Narad Muni and Vedic culture, animal killers are not even gentlemen, to say nothing of being religious men. A religious man, a devotee of the Lord, must be non-violent. Such is the nature of a religious person. It is contradictory to be violent and at the same time call oneself a religious person. Such hypocrisy is not approved by Narad Muni and the disciplic succession. So we'll continue reading from verse 273 next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.